this feels like it's kind of like it feels like it's a promise that's been made many times,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
it's going to be easy to deploy, like no code, low code, no code, all that stuff. And it doesn't always deliver, or it's always got some caveats. I mean, who are the kind of the competition, or just speak to that, right? I mean, obviously you're an engineer, so you've seen sort of the evolution of some of these promises, like, oh, I just drag and drop, it's a WYSIWYG, and
Yep.
then all of a sudden my application spins up and I'm in business. And I've always like actually been interested in those because I'm more of a business developer, right? So I'm like, I like sales. If I could like build prototypes to help sort of demo something, that would be effective. If I could easily put up my idea, but it's just never that easy, right? And so
Yeah.
I'm like, well, and then where does it go from there? So I guess, yeah, what have you seen, and how did, how are you sort of positioning it as different, or is this just technology's evolved and, now we're ready for this kind of product?
It's a little bit of both. Kind of like back to the timing discussion. People have been trying to do stuff similar to what Vino's doing right now, and tons of people are trying to do it right now. But the people have definitely grown accustomed to some of the concepts that they need to just accept before they can jump into something like this. Things like containerization, abstracting large chunks of logic around a black box that you only operate through via APIs or ports or something like that. Like before Linux containers and Docker, you could do similar things with VMs, but they're just way too heavy. Now that Docker has got people wrapping their heads around containerizing processes, and now microservices and sidecars and Kubernetes, things like that, it was easier to see how you can keep on breaking things down into these reusable building blocks and connecting them. And then at the core of what we're doing at Vino is abstracting the interface between all of these blocks to an asynchronous bracketed stream as the only way to input and output data, which is it's a way to abstract any input and any output, so you don't have to worry about like patterns, builders, asynchronous versus synchronous, futures, callbacks, whatever. But that concept is difficult to throw at somebody right away if they're not used to something like that. But now it's very, very common to scale out large distributed systems through like message queues, like NATs, RabbitMQ, PubSub, things like that. And that makes it easier for people to stomach that at a smaller level because they've already seen the value at a higher level. And we're doubling down on WebAssembly as a transformational technology. Because that I think is going to be extremely valuable a million different ways, but it's going to require people to change a lot of how they think development should work and what they should target. So that already adds a lot of cost to leveraging WebAssembly, and we are then just a little bit of comparative cost on top of that. Whereas if we were just like a framework for an existing a language or technology, we'd basically be telling people, it's like, hey, you can do literally the exact same thing you're doing right now, just completely differently if you use Vino, which is this ridiculous thing. No one should do that because the cost is too high and the value is unknown. Now, if you want to take advantage of WebAssembly, you're already paying a pretty high cost. So we're confident that the cost on top ends up being insignificant and or attractive because the value we're promising is that much higher.